Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick Wallace here dropping in. I'm a little late for today's inspirational video. I was trying to increase the volume of doing this because there are a lot of messages that I want to get over to you guys before the end of the year. I want to not only encourage you, I want to inspire you to raise your standard in the area of expectancy. When you raise your standard in the area of expectancy, you raise your standard in the area of performance. Those things you expect will demand a certain thing from you that you will be willing to give it. The problem that a lot of us have is we have low expectancies. We have developed from an experiential state of low expectancy. There are certain things we expect in the negative, certain things we expect in the area of performance from ourselves, in the area of reality as far as our situations and our circumstances. And I tell people all the time, no matter what your faith system is, no matter how you approach the infinite power of the universe, whether you call it God, whether you call it the universe, whether you have some other form, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever you look at, God is, the universe is, life is only going to meet you at the level of your expectations. What your expectations are set on beliefs. What you believe you can have, you will work towards. In other words, there are just certain principles in life that says your results will be highly reflective of the effort and energy and action you put into something. The problem is you're not going to invest a lot of energy, effort, and action into something you don't believe you can have. So you have to first find a way to change your beliefs and expectations about what it is in life you're expecting. If it's something you want, it has to become a must. It has to become an expectation. It has to become something that you believe you can have before you can ever really truly take action toward it. You will never, nobody that's thinking clearly is going to invest time, energy, and effort in any great capacity into something they don't believe will work, into something they don't believe they can have, and something they don't believe they can do. So at the very most, they'll do enough to say, I tried, but they won't really truly invest in it. They won't stick with it. They won't push through it. They won't go the distance. And that's all required in order to have things that are exceptional, that are phenomenal, that are extraordinary, that are above average. You're going to have to be willing to push through some things. You're going to have to be willing to endure some things. You're going to have to be willing to go the distance. And so I want to really inspire you to understand that first and foremost, this journey that you're going to take, if you're really truly saying that I'm going to go after something in life, that I'm going to abandon a life of mediocrity, that I'm going to abandon this pool of average, I'm going to now aspire to do something exceptional. I'm going to aspire to be something extraordinary. I'm going to explore my potential for greatness. Well, then you have to be aware of the fact that you're going to have some challenges, that you're going to go through some difficult moments, that you're going to face hardships. There is no circumvention of life's vicissitudes, struggles, disappointments, heartaches, hurts, delay. That's going to happen. It's not in the circumvention of your struggles, of your heartaches, of disappointments, of all of these things that you're going to go through. It's in your ability to stand up to it. It's in your ability to push through it. It's in your ability to stay in the game, to stay in the fight. I tell my clients all the time, if you're still breathing, you're still in the fight. You've been knocked down. You've been kicked around. You've been denied. You've been overlooked. You've been pushed back. You've been left alone. All of these things have been a part of your past pedigree. But that is not necessarily what will define your future. The wonderful thing about life is that we're not defined by our past. Our past may have developed certain capacities, certain behaviors, certain proclivities. We're going to be defined by how we respond to the present situation sitting in front of us, which will lead to where we go in the future. We can make mistakes, and we can overcome the mistakes when we sit down and decide that we're no longer going to make those same mistakes, that we're now going to face life with a certain sense of certainty. Even when we don't know how we're going to get through it, we understand that we are built for it, so we will get through it. You've got to have a belief that if you have a design, that if the infinite intelligence, the Almighty created you and put you here with a purpose, and you understand that your design is indicative of your purpose, then you've got to understand that if you were placed here with a purpose, you're built for whatever you're going to face. You've got to understand that one of the things that I've consistently done as I've gone from one thing to another, out of a storm and into another one, the one thing that I've been able to do that has served me so immensely is I look at the situation, I measure it, I acknowledge that it's there, I acknowledge that it has a certain level of influence on my moment, and then I immediately look at myself in the mirror, and I say, you're built for this. I don't care how hard it gets, you're built for it. I don't care how tough it is, you're built for it. I don't care how much it hurts, you're built for it. I don't care how long it takes, you're built for it. I don't care what people say about you, you're built for it. I don't care if it's 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, you're built for it. You don't stop until you get there. You don't stop, you don't quit, you don't give up. And then I put in the work. Like I've shared my story before. That was a time in 2012 when I hit the worst place I've ever been in my life. And I looked at it, and by this time I had come to an understanding that you don't circumvent struggle, that you don't grow when you try to run from the pain. So I stood up and I looked at it, and my relationship with the Almighty may be different than yours, but I looked at it, and my conversation with God was, I don't expect you to deliver me out of it, but I do expect you to bring me through it. The only thing that I ask is that you don't allow me to die while I'm fighting out, because you've already built me to come out of it. Everything I need is on the inside of me. All I need you to do is let me live long enough to come out of it, and I'm coming out. If you wake me up, this was my promise to God. I didn't ask him for a promise. I gave him one. If you wake me up, I'll answer the bell. And every morning I got up, I answered the bell. I fought, and I slowly climbed my way out of that dark pit I had found myself in. It wasn't me begging and pleading with nobody. It wasn't me begging and pleading with God. It was me sitting up saying, you built me for this. Somebody that I may not even know is watching how I respond to this. And my life is the testimony of what they can do if they stand up to the disappointing, the heartache, and frustrating moment they're going through in life. And so I stood up and I went through it, and I've done this consistently my whole life. There's always going to be something you're fighting through. You should get yourself comfortable with the fight, because you're here to win. Get yourself comfortable with pushing through. Now, let's talk about my play on words with the title, Break It Down and Drop It Like It's Hot. During the time that I owned and operated Itis Entertainment, I spent a lot of time in party and club environments promoting some of my talent, promoting certain events, and then just being invited out and set up because of what I was doing at the time. I had doors open all the time, so I was out there a lot. And one of the common things I heard all the time was, break it down and drop it like it's hot when certain songs came on. And then I started to just sit up and think, probably maybe a couple of years ago, break it down, drop it like it's hot. Why does that keep playing in my head? Break it down, drop it like hot. Then I started thinking, when you break something down, you simplify it. One of the problems that we deal with when we are trying to go after something is because we functioned in such a small space for so long that when we start to envision our capacity to do something greater, we tend to let it overwhelm us. And I'm the one that says that if your vision, quoting Stephen Ph.D., If your vision isn't so huge that it intimidates you, there's a good chance that it's insulting God. I want you to dream big. I want you to set your mind on things that are at one point or have at one point been viewed or seen as impossible. I want you to start seeing that as possible. Now, if you're really truly expanding and stretching yourself, what you're looking at is going to be huge. It's going to be intimidating. Every morning when I wake out of the bed, my vision is so big that it drives me. It's the reason I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. Because if I get up at 5, I'm going to miss something. If I get up at 5:30, I'm going to miss something. I can't stay in the bed. The wife will tell you, you don't catch me in the bed after 6:30, 7 o'clock. It just won't happen. Why? Because my vision is driving me. It's too huge for me to be laying there daydreaming. I've got to get up. I've got to put in the work. I've got to get my mindset right. So, but what happens is, what we tend to do when we let this dream get this big and we look at it and it's huge, it's intimidating, we don't know how to attack it. We don't know where to start. We don't know where to go. It's so big, it's more than we've ever done before. So we don't have the blueprint. That's why you got to break it down. You just break it down. You sit up there and say, it's going to take this and this and this and this and this and this. And then you just bite off what you can chew that day. You take that little one piece and you work it, you mold it, you shape it, you own it. It may take a while for you to get it all done, but that's okay. You're going the distance. So time is not as big of an issue as if it was when you don't have anything going. Time begins to bend to your will when you're working on your own goal and your own passion and your self-assigned purpose and destiny. When you're working inside the confines of your own design, the purpose for which you are here, and you're living inside of your passion, you'll find that time starts to bend for you. It starts to slow down. You start to redeem. I used to tell people, listen, with all of this stuff, it's going to take so much of you. I feel like when I'm working in my passion, when I'm working in my purpose, when I'm really truly living life in the fullness of my design, I believe any time that I've given to it, I'll redeem. In other words, I'll get to enjoy and live in the fullness of it. Life will be extended for me in some form, in some way, because I'm operating in my destiny. I'm operating in my purpose. I believe in redeemed time because time is simply an illusion in the first place when you really understand the totality of our existence and how we move. But okay, so you break it down. You start to look, okay, I've got business plan, marketing plan, funding. I've got the need for innovative strategy to move and shift the manner in which we compete in the industry I'm operating in. Or if we're talking about your marriage, well, I've got to sit up and I've got to rebuild trust. I've got to sit up and create a dating life. I've got to sit up and create a home life. I've got to sit up and become a provider. You got all these things lined up that make you a good mate if you're a man, or make you a good mate if you're a woman. And you just go get the one you can get today. That one that you put the highest on the priority list, you take it first. Forget about the rest. If you're good, once you get good at this, you start finding ways to find leverage and move things that you couldn't move by yourself. But just to get you started, bite off what you can chew. Take that one thing that's sitting at the top of the list and do it. And do it to the best of your capacity. And do it and do it and do it and do it until you become good at it. And do it some more and do it some more until you become great at it. Then you sit up, and once you master it, it becomes easier. It takes less time to do it. It's almost automatic. Now you can reach over and grab the next thing. You take one step at a time, one bite at a time. You break it down until the least common denominator and work with it. Don't give up on it. Don't be overwhelmed by it. Don't be moved and shaken by it. Let it be big. It needs to be big. It needs to challenge you. Every morning you wake up out of the bed, it has to challenge you. It's got to drive you. It's got to make you want to work. If it's too easy for you to do, you're going to put it off until the last minute. If it's too easy for you, you're not going to be really pushed to stretch yourself and move and grab hold to all of your potential. You need something so big that it takes every everything out of you every day. You go to bed having left it all on the battlefield. That's the kind of dream and vision and idea you need to have for your life. That's what you were designed for. That's why you are placed here. That's your purpose. You were never designed for mediocrity. You were never designed for mediocrity. You were never designed to be average. You were designed with a uniqueness about you that only you have. You share some common characteristics with others, but you have a uniqueness about yourself that sets you apart from everyone else. That is the defining element that will determine how you move and do in life based on how much you embrace it, how much you refine it, how much you build on it, how much you grow it. You have something in you that is demanding greatness of you, but you've got to be willing to serve it. You've got to be willing to feed it. You've got to be willing to nurture it. You've got to be willing to own it. And you keep building on it, keep biting on it, keep pulling at it, keep gnawing on it, keep waking up every morning, getting in the fight until you get it done. It's not going to be easy. Nobody's going to lay it down for you. Nobody's going to automatically open doors for you. But I truly believe, like William Hutchinson Murray, that once you set your mind and become committed to having that thing that you can't seem to forget, you can't let go of, that thing that won't let you sleep, that thing that will not let you just move and be comfortable, that thing when you really set your mind to have it, it is after you commit to it and you take that first step that providence begins to move. Providence waits on commitment. A lot of the things you're sitting around waiting for to prove to you you can do it, a lot of the hows, all of that stuff comes after you make the decision. That's what faith is all about. Faith is sitting up, looking at your design, understanding your creator, and determining in your mind that you are built for something. You don't have to know how, you just need to know that you can. When you take the first step, providence will catch up with you. And then drop it like it's hot. Man, if I didn't hear that a million times when I was in the club, like, drop it like it's hot. And I say, well, how does that apply? You're holding on to too many things too long. You're bringing old baggage into new situations. You're attempting to reconcile the irreconcilable. You're attempting to engage things that are diametrically opposed to your progress. You got to learn how to drop it like it's hot. If you've ever picked up something that was burning hot, you didn't even have to think to process it to drop it. You are automatically programmed. Bad move, drop it. And it happens in a split second. And that's how you're going to have to learn to drop some of these negative distractions in your life. People that are there not to pour into you, but to pull out of you. People who are there to take notice of your hardships and your struggles. People who are there to silently whisper behind your back about what you're going through, those gossipers, those naysayers, those minimal-minded people who have given up long before you on their dreams and have nothing but a desire to pull you into their misery. You've got to drop it like it's hot. You've got to let go of past failures. You got to let go of hardships and struggles and traumatic moments that seem to haunt you. You got to drop it. You got to let it go. You can't breathe trying to carry the weight you carry. It's no wonder you're mired down and stuck. You're trying to carry more than you should be carrying. You should be free and moving towards something spectacular, something awesome, something phenomenal, but you're trying to carry and drag all of the heartache, the fact that you never knew your father, the fact that you were sexually abused, the fact that you were beaten, fact that you grew up poor, the fact that you didn't do well in school, the fact that you flunked out of college, all of that stuff that you're carrying, trying to move into a new area of your life, allowing it to define you and hold you back. You better shake yourself loose. You're built for this. I don't care where you're at. I don't care where you come from. That's what I love about what I do. I meet people who come from all different types of situations and circumstances. And every time I'm able to find their genius. Not genius defined by an IQ given by some creative formula, but their genius, that thing that makes them exceptional, that thing that they do so well, so naturally. I am often surprised at how many times they don't even see it. They're not aware of it. Or they're erroneously using it, exploiting it for the wrong reason, damaging it, instead of refining it, strengthening it, growing it. But I tell you, as I leave you, hopefully inspired, hopefully encouraged, hopefully with an idea, you've got to clear your mind. You've got to stop the negative self-talk. I told you this day before yesterday, or was it yesterday? I told you this, that your brain, your subconscious brain, your subconscious mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk. What's the story you're telling your mind? What's the story you keep telling yourself? Is it a story about how you can't help but have bad relationships, how you can't seem to find the right person to get married to, you can't seem to find a wife, you can't seem to find a husband? Are you constantly reminding yourself of your current financial situation, that you're in lack, that you're in poverty, that you're struggling, that you can't seem to make it? And or listen, I mean, all I can tell you at this particular point in time, I could actually go into it and explain you, and I do that in great depth in the book Critical Mass. I do that in great depth. I go in and explain specifically, step by step, how what your self-talk is actually creating your future. Your mind is the genesis of your future and your destiny. What you're thinking and your thoughts are going to be formulated in words. What you think, what you believe you think, what you think you say, what you say you eventually act out in behavior and habits. So what you have to understand is, what beliefs have you so hooked in talking about lack instead of talking about creating a new world for yourself, a new idea, talk about where you're going and not where you're at or where you're coming from. Acknowledge that you're in a place, then determine that that place is not where you're going to spend the rest of your life. And if it's not where you're going to spend the rest of your life, your mind needs to be focused on where you're going. If you're consistently focused and talking about where you're at, you're going to consistently be there. That's just the way that we're built with mind. That's the way the universe responds to us. That's how faith works. You either call things that are not as though they were, or you call things that are as though they are. And when you call them as they are, when you call them things that are as they are, they stay as they are. When you call things that are not as though they were, they start to become. That's the power of belief. You've got to stop talking. So that self-talk is so powerful. Another thing that I've read and I've heard and I've integrated into my teachings is the quote that, first, the quote from Jim Quick says that be careful with your self-talk, because your mind is eavesdropping on your self-talk. And then there's another one that I'm not sure who the author is, but it says that your mind is like a supercomputer and your self-talk is the software and program that you're running. In other words, no matter how powerful your brain is, it will only run on the programs that are uploaded into it. And your self-talk is how you upload. is one of the most powerful mechanisms for uploading software and programming into your brain. So your self-talk is setting the pathway of how you're going to engage life. If you're constantly talking about what you don't have, if you're constantly talking about how bad your marriage is, if you're constantly talking about how hard and difficult it is to start a business, if you're constantly talking about not having the resources to launch what you want to launch or do what you want to do, you're going to consistently call things that are how they are being perceived now as though they are, and they will remain. If you start calling things that are not as though they were, start to speak what you envision, not what you are living in. I tell people all the time, learn to live in your vision. Start to live in your vision. Operate in your day-to-day functions, but live in your vision. That's how you are able to work through those difficult moments. When you want to quit, when you got a clear vision and you want to quit, the vision is what keeps you going. It's the ability to push through things, knowing that there's something greater on the other side of the pain, something greater on the other side of delay, something greater on the other side of struggle. You've got to have something clear that you're fighting for. When you develop a clear vision, you'll push through some things. And I'm not just telling you something I read in some certification course. I'm telling you what I've lived. I'm telling you what I've not only taught hundreds of people and watched them succeed, but what I've done time and time again. I've taken some blows, some major blows. In the last, little over 5 years, taken a couple. And it would be easy to get frustrated and say, man, life sucks. I'm tired of this. It didn't used to be this hard. That's a bunch of things I could have said. The first response was, I'm built for this. The second response was, time to get up and put in work. I wake up every morning to put in work. My wife will tell you, I don't have sick days. If I have a sick day, I'm in the hospital, and they won't bring me my computer. And they won't let me have my phone. That's my sick day. Other than that, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do everything I can till my body just sits up and says, I can't. Because you're just not going to feel like it all the time. I don't operate on how I feel. I operate on my responsibilities, my obligations, my commitment to being the best I could possibly be at what I do. When you raise the standard of performance, when you raise your standards of expectations, your standards of performance, you automatically lower your tolerance for excuses. You automatically sit up and demand more of yourself, and you start to thin out your circle too, because as your standards go up and your tolerance for excuses goes down, you also don't have a tolerance for excuses for other people. You don't want to hear it, because you know that if you get up and you put in the work, you get results. This is the reality of it. The problem is that we live in a culture that has dumbed us down, desired us down. With our desires of what we want and how we want to live is brought down to reach comfort. We have put comfort before character, comfort before progress, comfort before everything. So we want to find the most we can get while still being comfortable. And you can't get greatness in comfort. You can't grow character in comfort. You can't intensify integrity in comfort. You got to be willing to go through the fire. You got to be willing to push through some things. You got to not be so easily deterred, quit and give up. And one of my sayings, probably one of my most common sayings when speaking publicly, is no surrender, no retreat. How did you do this? No surrender, no retreat. I'm not quitting, I'm not giving up, and I'm not turning around. I've come here and I'm gonna fight, and one or two things are gonna happen at this moment of impasse. When I reach a moment of impasse, one or two things are gonna happen. I'm gonna break through, I'm gonna die trying. That's it. That's the only option I've got. I don't care how hard it gets. I don't care how much it hurts. I don't care how many people talk about me. I don't care how many people laugh. I don't care about any of the other things that everybody else gets caught up in that slows them down, that weighs them down. All I know is I'm here and I'm either going to break through it or I'm going to die trying. Either way is good with me because I will have lived a life that left a legacy. Say, I came, I saw, I conquered, I fought. That's good enough for me. One thing I cannot have a legacy of is he gave up, he quit. You got to find your why. Your why's got to be so huge that it won't let you quit. What's your why? When you discover your why, that thing why you want something, when it's big enough that it overpowers any barrier, you won't have a problem pushing through things because you'll look up and your why is bigger than that moment. When your why is so huge that there's no moment that is greater than the why, you'll never be stopped. You will never be stopped when you finally discover that why that's so big, it'll pull you all the way to the finish line. Look, I absolutely adore you guys. Thanks for stopping in and listening. I hope that you were able to take something from this. Sorry it took so long to get it today. I like to get my inspirational thoughts out of the way early in the morning, but there's a lot going on. With so much going on with family and everything during the holidays, I didn't get a chance to actually do it. But I didn't want to wait until tomorrow. Plus, no telling what they're going to have me doing tomorrow. So I just wanted to kind of get it out of the way in case I don't get it tomorrow. I wanted you to have something to go into the holiday with, as well as we're working towards moving into 2018 with an entirely different mindset of what's possible. I'm telling you that some of the people that come to me make unbelievable leaps and bounds from where they come to where they leave, just simply on being able to understand the capacity they have within inside of themselves. And it takes a process of breaking that down, opening that up and setting it up. I tell people all the time, yes, I have the strategy. I have the strategy of, success in business, success in marriage, success in parenting, success in relationship. There's no secret to that. You can study that and learn that. But if you don't have the right mindset, everything that you do in life is going to be 80% psychological. The psychology of doing something, the belief that you can, how you set your mind up, how you're able to sustain certain states over long periods of time. If you're constantly moved around emotionally by your situations and circumstances, life is always going to be hard because you're going to be so capricious in your performance because you're going to be performing and acting based on how you feel. But when you settle yourself and you find this state of where you're operating optimally all the time, the things you're able to do are unbelievable. With that being said, I'm going to check out of here. Thank you for guys for stopping in. As I always say, I'm going to down E. I'm going to live life on full. I'm not taking anything to the grave with me. No potential, no unactualized potential to the grave. I plan on leaving it all on the battlefield. I encourage you to do the same thing. It's been an honor. Hopefully I'll talk to you guys soon. Everybody have a great day. I'm out. Peace.